Effie has fallen to her knees. She's screaming.
You chose this. Now burn.
Vengeance. Let the seeds of the wicked wither. Death to the lineage of alchemists.
As investigators, there are times we step into the strange, the eerie, and the unnatural. Those spaces where the ordinary world refuses to tread. As humans, we forget the world around us is a living thing. We harvest its resources as if the earth were lifeless, forgetting that this planet breathes and shifts beneath us. In our line of work, trusting our senses is as essential as the air we inhale. What we see, hear, and feel can make the difference between survival and slipping into the unknown. Do you trust your senses when you see a shadow from the corner of your eye, or do you toss it up to just your imagination? Assignment number 1A4-A, The Seed of Doubt. Come back as the camera flies through the fog at night, and we watch it hover over the car that is currently driven by Felix. In the car besides him are the three other investigators: Floor, Effie, Deacon. We can watch the camera pull away from the frame, and we come upon the district of Groundswell, and watch as the car pulls up to the Groundswell Arboretum. Groundswell Arboretum sits tucked among towering, twisted structures and winding, foggy streets. The greenhouse itself is enclosed in walls of misted glass and crowned by a ceiling that diffuses with the moonlight. You can watch it cast a grayish green hue over everything within. You can see through the window that it's pretty dense inside. And on the outside, you can have a fragrant foliage that would fill the space with tons of flowers, mix of greenery and plants. You could also see from the window, there's a lot of artfully tangled arrangements that are only practiced here at Groundswell Arboretum. Between the rows of plants lie a hidden cluster of flora, not all of them entirely legal or natural. The camera pans back to the car as we watch it stop in front of the Arboretum. And we see the investigators exit the car one by one. The camera seems to stop at ground level, and we watch as a foot escapes the car door. And within frame, you see a couple of people step out of the car, and you can watch it move towards the steps of the Arboretum. As the investigators get closer to the door, we watch the camera come into frame right outside the entrance to a single pink flower, identical to those found on the tongues of the recent victims, which is poking up between the cobblestones. Delicate and beauty clashes with the knowledge of its role in the recent strange deaths. So the camera now turns to the investigators. Who's going in first?
I've given our little coterie, as it were, a brief overview of Thumbsy, the owner of the Arboretum. He was a romantic mistake of mine. He tends to be a little eccentric, but he is one of the most knowledgeable men on this continent about plant life. Would have been a great botanist if he wasn't so flippant about rules. Just let me do most of the talking. He'll drag us in, but I have no holdbacks regarding his ability to help us. And already we have evidence that he knows of this, and I gesture with my cane at the flower poking out from under the ground. Strange, though, he's usually much more disciplined with his experiments.
It seems as if this is more prolific than some of his other ventures, perhaps, seeing as we've now found it across town.
Oh, this could, if it's anything like his experiments with the Death Angel mushrooms, it will be far out of our hands.
Puzzle pieces were fitting together little by little, and the investigators stood outside the gateway to the Arboretum with an uneasy feeling.
We watch as the camera slowly focuses in on Deacon as he's speaking, as clumps of his hair start to fall onto his book.
Deacon, for anybody else, that would be horrifying. But Deacon just looks at it like it's, just get off of me. And just goes right back to writing.
Effie is going to shoot Felix a very confused look. Like, is this a costume? Was this something set up in advance? What did you do?
Felix gives you back that look, that sheepish look when he's being blamed for something that is not his fault. Like trying to convey, like, this was not me this time. Hey, Deacon, you gonna need those for later, or like? Porque mira, like I can make you a faux beard if you wanted to wear it again, but you just gotta make sure you pick up all the scraps.
Deacon looked uncomfortable, but not for the reason that was obvious. I don't particularly pay any mind, one way or another. Communicating with something unnatural sometimes has unexpected side effects. The ink, it seems, was acidic this time. I suspect my hair follicles will either be ruined or just take some time to heal.
That's all right. I gotta take you to one of my primas. She owns a salon shop over in the Red District. She'll get you right as rain, okay? A little bit of oil, flaxseed or grape. You'll be okay. Felix starts pushing the door open and stepping to the side to let Effie and company in first. He's like, well, pues, yeah, I'll follow behind. And seeing as this love affair might sprout all of a sudden, all right?
There was a reason, dear, that I called him a mistake. But thank you, darling. Ladies first.
You can hear the ringing of a bell as the door opens. And inside the greenhouse is the caretaker, an elderly man known as Thumbsy, as Effie said before. Just inside, you can see the camera zoom past the investigators and hover over Thumbsy as he's prepping something this evening. Thumbsy's damp and musky scent can be smelled a little bits a ways. It smells like fresh soil mixed with rain. His wiry frames belies his age, as does the sharpness of his eyes. Thumbsy is an elderly man who sits tall for his stature. He's a scientist turned gardener who effortlessly navigates both New Fair's high society and its shadowy underbelly. Despite his facade, Thumbsy is no fool. He's aware of all that goes on in his shop, and as you arrive, you'll find Thumbsy arranging his plants for display, his piercing gaze noting every single detail. He turns around, and he has a very deep voice, and he turns around and...
Hello, for Effie. How are you, Effie? It's nice to see you.
Old friend, it is delightful to see you. You haven't aged a day. You remember Floor, yes?
Oh, yes, I do. Hi, Floor.
And he extends his hand.
Floor takes his hand, grasps it with a nice firm handshake, and is like, yes, it's been quite some time. And she shoots Effie an amused look. It's always great to see old acquaintances of dear Effie here.
What you'll notice when you grab his hand is it's a very solid handshake for an 80-year-old. Like it's old man strength at this point. Like it's a nice solid grip.
Floor has that sort of response back to it, just that bit of competitive one-upsmanship, and perhaps it lingers a little too long, and then she goes to clap his shoulder and gesture to the others. And this here, we have Deacon, or Mr. Campbell, and Mr. Marquez, Felix. A few of our friends.
I see you young whippersnappers are in here. Looks like you all have some really good head on your shoulders. The guy in the back, he's pretty tall. You're not going around with other people, are you, Effie?
Oh, my dear Thumbsy, and I reach out a very sympathetic hand, liver spotted as it is. My heart couldn't handle it, I found solace in the fairer sex, friendship, good friendship, roommates.
Okay, yes, that's great. Thank you so much for coming by. So what brings you guys in here?
Deacon approaches nervously. There was a flower just outside your door, in between the bricks of your walkway, a pink flower. Is that... do you have more of those anywhere?
A pink flower at the doorway? I'm not really sure what you're talking about there.
It's
Deacon, show him you did the drawing of it, remember?
Flip through the journal and pull up the sketch of the flower.
Oh, yes!
He'll perfectly cover the part of the page that is the dude's face that it was sprouting from.
The dead dude?
He's gonna take note of what you're showing him. He's never seen this type of flower before. He is very well versed in herbology, right? He knows everything about herbs, and he knows everything in regards to plants, but this looks a little different. He looks a little confounded. He doesn't really... You can, if you choose to do so, you could do a read roll on him. But it wouldn't be really necessary because he looks confused more than anything else. He doesn't look like he understands what this flower actually is. However, you could see some gears turning in his head if you take a closer look.
I think Deacon would take him at his word, especially if he's really looking at it. And yeah, I'll just let the gears turn.
He'll kind of walk away from the page, and you'll see him pace back and forth. And he'll scratch his head and kind of do a little bit of pacing. He'll turn around to Effie and kind of focus in on Effie. And,
I'm not really remembering exactly what this type of flower is. I've been working on quite a few flowers lately, but I don't recognize that. However, if you...
And he looks a little excited when he looks at you, Effie. He looks very excited because he knows that you both work really, really well together. So he's gonna turn his back and he's gonna walk towards the back of the store, and he grabs something. You can hear some shuffling in the background. You can hear pots being moved around, soil being moved around, and he's gonna bring out a pot. And in this pot, you're gonna watch him kind of look at it. And he's gonna move closer to all of you.
Now, I don't really know what that flower is, however, I do think I can help you. But Effie, can you help an old friend?
Anything for an old friend.
Hey, if we gotta give you guys some space to reconnect, like...
I'm just gonna whack him with my cane.
You take a body for that.
Yeah, I accept it.
Floor's sitting there, like, halfway smirking, crossing her arms, kind of amused, but also at the same time, eyes slightly narrowed at this guy, just not sure exactly what his intentions are with my dear friend.
Yeah, like, what's his game plan?
Yeah, just like, I need something, and it's your help in particular. And Floor has a little bit of a look about her. She's not going terribly far away, out of curiosity.
So, this is actually a great moment. Effie, the camera's going to go into a more of a blurred vision. And we're going to go into a memory. And we're going to recount a memory of you in your younger days, alongside your good friend Thumbsy, working on some flowers together. Little does your companions know, you have a pretty good understanding of, what's the terminology?
Angiosperms, the flowering family.
Ah, okay. And you can see that the camera hovers over both of you. What are you guys doing?
You know, we're in the college greenhouse. We're particularly going over seed revitalization. There are a few ancient ferns, primitive trees. But today's project is focusing on some of the first flowering species. So tiny little bright red blooms are below us in a gardening box as we stare down.
And you can watch as the camera kind of shifts around the two, and they're both exchanging information as they've done for many, many years. And you can watch as time lapses on a clock overhead and their age over time. And now it's brought back to the present. And you can see Thumbsy now cupping this pot with a flower in it.
Oh, dear friend, this is Aurinian Stratium.
And inside this pot sits a small, yet beautiful and elegant flower bud. Its petals are tightly curled. You can smell floral fragrances come from it. In the moonlight that's shining through the windows, you can take a look at this beautiful flower bud.
I will take a closer look.
When you take a look at this, you can see on Thumbsy's face frustration and fascination over this flower. But he keeps shaking his head.
See here now.
And he kind of shakes his head over and over again as he places the pot down onto the table in front of all of you.
This is one stubborn mule. No matter what I try, she won't open up for me.
Still talking about the flower, right?
Yes, young whippersnapper.
And he now hits you over the head.
I'm taking another body.
Yes, you are.
Just 2 marks of canes on each side.
Just bright red cheeks.
You've got like the Looney Tunes kind of lump that's starting to grow on the back of your head.
And he looks over to young Effie. Or Effie, in his mind, you're very young. And he goes,
Your voice has always been much more beautiful than mine. I've tried everything under the sun. I've watered it. I've changed pots. I've changed the soil. I've given it fertilizer. I've taken that out in the sun. I've tried to sing to it, but yet no avail. I think this needs a new approach.
More feminine touch, you could say?
Well, yes.
and he agrees. You can see he's very excited about this.
I gently take the pot in both my hands and look it over. You know, is this the result of one of your crossbreeding projects? I must say, terribly similar to Alpine Edelweiss.
Oh, yes. It is a mixture. My voice is a little too deep for this, so I was wondering if...
And he'll look to Floor and Effie.
If one of you wouldn't mind lending your voice for this.
Brilliant notion. You know, these alpine species, they tend to respond better to the whistling winds, that sort of ordeal. But Floor's always had the fairer voice than I. Would you mind humming it a tune, perhaps?
Floor looks between the two of them, acknowledging that she's about to sing to a flower, but also acknowledging this is probably not the strangest thing that she's done. It is a little exciting. So she leans in close to it. She looks to the others like, any requests?
There's that, the new Faireland, national anthem. You could do that one.
And she gestures to the plant. It's a little dry. This seems a little more exotic. Maybe. And she starts to kind of keep a bit of a rhythm with her hands and starts to hum a little tune, kind of trying to remember the words herself before she begins to sing. It sounds something like a shanty, but it has more of a rhythm to it underneath.
Deacon has stopped writing until either you start singing or just say the name of the song that you are choosing to sing.
I think while Floor's doing this and kind of hemming and hawing, in the background of all this, you see Felix going to different plants and pots that clearly have signs of do not touch, and he just like pricks one. He's just running around trying to dip it in water.
What do you do with a sleepy flower? What do you do with a sleepy flower? What do you do with a sleepy flower early in the morning? And she kind of takes her hands and does little dancing hands. Jazz hands at the flower.
I feel as though, as you're singing, Felix, it just makes sense for your magician-like entertainment. Like, out of nowhere, you just see Felix just start doing maracas and maybe a timbre.
I've got you've seen those seeds or those pods that loofahs are made out of?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the seeds inside of them, they shake and rattle. So I found 2 of those, and I'm just starting to shake them in the background.
Wonderful. As all of this is happening, Deacon, you start to hear a different voice. You don't hear Floor's voice anymore. You hear a more ancient voice speaking to you, as if your attention is to be drawn away from what is currently happening in front of you and your fellow investigators. You start to hear,
Come to me.
Deacon fully turns away as they're performing, and he's gonna mutter, Deacon didn't recognize the voice as being the presence he had been feeling. He waited to see if it would announce its name or its intent.
Find me.
Sent a chill down his spine, and he wasn't sure if he should alert the others. Perhaps taking a look around to find the source would help.
as he is writing all this down, in the background you can hear Floor finishing up the shanty and Felix with the maracas.
Hey ho, up it rises early in the morning.
And as that happens and occurs, you can see the flower start to open.
Oh, yes, that worked. It looks like you guys are exactly what I needed. I knew you could do it, Effie.
And he grabs your hands and kind of shakes you a little bit too much. Doesn't realize his own little old man strength.
Yes, I knew it. He's
So excited. And he's jumping around as an 80-year-old man would. And he now turns to the rest of you.
Now, I do remember and recall there are flowers. Yes, flowers in the garden and towards the back. Actually, not too long ago, there was an officer. What was her name?
Jenkins, perhaps?
Jensen. It was Officer Jensen. Yes, she would come and go as she pleased. You know, in this shop, we do all of the things, you know, and I'm not one to stand in the way of, you know, the badges.
Of course, nobody likes a nosy inspector in their studies. You said this garden was in the shop. Is it a separate greenhouse, an atrium, perhaps? Would you mind giving us a tour, dear friend?
Well, I'm a little too old for adventuring. You know, the knees and everything. But, the garden of the gods and all the fair. Yes, there is a passage towards the back of the shop here. I see your friend.
And he turns towards Deacon. Deacon, what are you currently looking at towards the back of this office or this
Deacon is kind of half lidded as he's just like wandering towards the back. Like he's not quite all here, as he's just kind of slowly shuffling. And as he's looking at that back door, his hand is still writing. And he doesn't know what he's writing. He's just writing.
I think Felix is going to match pace with Deacon, or at least kind of a few steps behind him, and be like, "Hey, you doing all right, buddy?"
Find it. I have to find them.
Do that thing where I keep walking, but walk backwards and look at everybody else.
Eventually, Deacon will.
Hey, you're okay? It's all right. I'm gonna put like kind of an arm gently on your shoulder, like, hey, it's okay. That's all right. You're here. We're here. You good? You back?
Yes. Did I go somewhere?
I mean, you started walking and then you started writing, but nobody was saying anything, which is kind of unusual because usually you write when talk. What is your?
It just says, find me, 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 over and over and over. He just flips a couple pages to a blank page. Apologies, I don't quite understand what that was, but I'm here. I believe the back room may lead somewhere that might be connected to all this.
Yeah, I think Thumbsy was just talking to us about it, but who are we finding?
I don't know yet. I anticipated maybe something like the flower at the scene of the crime. It was too young, I believe, to communicate, but perhaps there's an older one that will explain everything.
So you think they have like a hive mind type situation?
Perhaps. I suppose it's possible. Although, how would they communicate? One is in soil, another one is in a body. But perhaps there's something through the air or some sort of extra means of
maybe it's just hereditary. Maybe, you know, it passes from seed to seed and it's just already imbued in it. I think we have more questions than answers right now.
Yes, I agree.
And as you guys are having this conversation, in the background, Thumbsy is just ranting on about all of his new finds, and he's really trying to charm up Effie and Floor, you know, trying to really turn up the charm a little bit. And throughout this conversation, you can hear that he walks up to Deacon.
Yes, I see that you're a natural explorer, just like my friend Emmy. Actually, thinking about it, Emmy Tanaka, she,
And he's gonna look a little lost and over to the clock that's hanging on the wall. And he's gonna note, time has passed a lot faster than he realized. And he's going to notate that, and you can see he's a little worried when he starts talking about Emmy.
Yes, Emmy's too good for her own good. She left with a group earlier, but she was supposed to be back by now. Yes, could you, while you're investigating, try to keep an eye out for her for me?
This Emmy went to this garden?
Yes,
And he's going to go towards the desk, and underneath the desk is a little button he's going to press, and you're going to hear a trapdoor release. And that trapdoor, when it releases, he's going to point towards the back with a shaky finger.
Yes, she went down towards the gardens. You have to take the doorway down there. I can't go anymore because, you know, knees.
Do people often get lost in your gardens?
No, actually, it's quite the opposite. They come back pretty quickly because there's a lot of danger down there. Actually, talking about danger.
And he's gonna turn around and go towards the back again in his little room, and you're gonna hear some glassware and pots and pans being moved back there, and he comes out with a bag. And he's going to present the bag. Who's going to take it?
I'd be without a doubt.
So he hands over the bag and he goes,
Yes, it's quite dangerous out there, Effie, and I don't want anything to happen to y'all. If you open the bag, you'll notice there's an antitoxin and some other materials you'll need in there, because some of the flora back there, yeah, it's dangerous. So you want to make sure you have the toxins ready to go.
and he looks at Effie while he's shaking his head.
Yes, toxins. They're pretty bad. I don't go back there no more because it gets pretty hairy.
Of course, thank you. And knowing and having worked with this colleague, he hasn't labeled them properly, has he?
No. But there is one thing that is labeled correctly, and that's antitoxin.
At least you got the important part. Thank you. I promise we'll be back in a jiffy with Miss Kanaka.
He labeled Bunsen burner, which it's not really a Bunsen burner. It's like something else. It's just a lighter.
A hot plate? Oh, it's not even a hot plate?
It's just a lighter.
He has the lighter labeled Bunsen burner.
Hey, look, he's an old guy, okay? Sometimes you're mistaken things, all right? So there's certain definitely tools in there that you could use to help you with your investigation and exploration. So you can see that he brings you the bag, and inside the bag is all of the labels. Some of the things are labeled correctly, some of the things are not, but the one thing that you knew for sure is labeled correctly is the antitoxin that it gives you. Before you guys depart, is there anything else that you would like to do?
I, for one, am going to go into my own little professor's bag and make sure I have a few vials of activated charcoal at the ready. Toxins were mentioned, and while we have been provided, who knows what is down there? My old friend is certainly an eclectic man, but I do not put it past him to create horrors. It's best to be prepared for those horrors.
I am going to talk to... Oh.
No, you go ahead.
To Thumbsy really quickly. So you mentioned, Emi Tanaka and them going down there. What was exactly the nature of their business down in the garden? They were
exploring, and I'm not sure. There was I think.
And you can see he's a little confused. He can't remember if it was 4, 5, or 6 of them. He's just gonna throw out numbers. He's not really sure how many people were down there, but he knows that she left with a group.
Okay, so it wasn't her by herself. There was a group of anywhere between 3 and 6, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. They
These...
didn't mention what they were looking for.
They're explorers, so these are gardens that are very dangerous. A lot of people don't go and venture out on their own, so she's just exploring around.
So there's no particular caretaking on these gardens?
You will see why.
Well, are you in charge here?
Of the greenhouse?
His voice goes high for the first time in his life.
So you could sing to the flower.
No.
So you're in charge of the greenhouse. Who's in charge of the gardens?
They take care of themselves.
And she looks to Effie and just kind of mouths over, is that how gardens work? I feel like that's not how gardens work. Okay. All right. Okay. And Flora's just gonna kind of take that and kind of wander around looking at just the rest of the things. Is there anything else that I could perhaps sense in here? Anything that would be like send my little like spidey senses tingling on this one?
Yes, actually. So, as you're keen to observation, you're going to notice when you take a look around the room, there's a picture frame hung up on the wall. And the picture frame has what is seen to be a depiction of what the gardens look like. And you can see underneath it has a label. And the label states, "The Garden of the Gods." And Thumbsy's going to take a look at you, and he's going to notice that you noticed the picture, and he forgot that it's even hanging there, because he just doesn't pay attention to those things anymore. And he's going to walk over to you slowly, and he's going to go,
"Ah, yes, the Garden of the Gods. Yes, legend has it."
and he's going to sit there and kind of just spout out information, and the information that you're going to get is that there's a place called Lilyspire Labyrinth, according to the legend, in the middle of the Garden of the Gods, which could be one of the reasons why Emmy went down there in the first place.
Interesting.
How so, my dear?
He mentions a labyrinth that could be potentially in the middle of these gardens, and well, if they're untamed and take care of themselves, that could be where those explorers have gone.
Oh dear, I mean, I've heard of enclosed ecosystems, but introducing a whole other thing will be treated as invaders. More the reason to have our metaphorical spears up. We're walking into a labyrinth with a minotaur, except we have no idea what the minotaur is.
And this idea of Garden of the Gods, what kind? Are we talking primal? Are we talking some sort of elemental? Anything from Old Fair? Perhaps. What else would I know of, like, any other gods prior to what we go with in New Fair?
You know that in Old Fair, there was plenty of dabblings with magic. There's a lot of magic that happens within New Fair itself. You know, what you do know is there's magic that happened. Magic leaves a residue behind called bleed. It's radiating, right? So there are different beliefs that there are different gods, or has there been different gods? You, as a circle, have not encountered a god before. So, could there be a god? Sure.
A god in the Garden of the Gods could be interesting. Would I, with any of the old Faireland beliefs, was that anything that the folks who caused the demise of Old Fair would have dabbled in as well? Anything cultish or cultural that would have...
Yeah, the dabbling of magic in itself really led to the destruction of Old Fair. This is one of the reasons why we went to war. It was trying to control magic, and in its sense, there are still a lot of places within New Fair itself where there are ruins of Old Fair underground. So the fact that there is a location underground with a garden that is untended is not uncommon. There are a lot of ruins underneath that hasn't been explored yet, and this could be one of them.
This kind of gets a bit of a glint in Flora's eye. Quest fever is starting to kick in. And she sees that and looks from there, looks to the other lads, and then looks to Effie. And is like, I'm ready to go when you are, but we should be careful. Hopefully we'll stop anything happening before we need. And she points to the bottle of antitoxin. So she looks to the guys, she looks to Effie and says, I'm ready to go when you are, but hopefully knowing that this may be what we face, we'll take care of it before we need that, and gestures to the bottle of antitoxin.
Okay. Perfect. As you guys are getting ready, Deacon, the voice comes back, but it sounds different this time.
Find me.
Deacon's gonna like
Bring me someone.
Deacon shudders as he hears the voice, and he's saying this out loud and writing loud enough that everyone can hear. Here's the voice say, "Bring me someone." Deacon asks, "What do you mean?"
To feed.
And he'll write as he says this, but his handwriting shifts. Like the look is just all caps. "I need to feed."
Flora hovers around Deacon's shoulder as she's watching this and places a hand on his shoulder.
Something's... I fear that Emmy might be in more danger than we thought. Something's down there and it needs to feed. We should move quickly.
And with that, I'm assuming everyone is getting ready to leave.
Felix starts winding up the battery on the flashlight to make sure it's charged.
Perfect. You'll hear Thumbsy in the back waving y'all goodbye, and you can see now the camera hover over the four of you as it looks from top down. A set of stairs that gets darker and darker as it goes into the tunnel. It reveals a narrow stone shaft descending deep into the earth. As the trapdoor creaks open, the camera looks overhead as we watch the four investigators now descend down into the earth, disappearing into the blackness below. The faint smell of damp stone and earth wafts up into the air, into your lungs. You can smell what smells like rust. On one side of the wall, it feels smooth. On the other side, feels jagged, edgy. Without light, as you guys go deeper down this passage, it gets darker and it gets harder to see without light.
Felix, you charge the flashlight, correct?
Yeah, I think at some point Felix would just be, being the biggest of us all, would take point and be like, "Hey, it's getting kind of hard for me to see. Is it okay? You guys think it's a good idea to start using the flashlight now? I mean, I can always recharge it, but you guys..."
It will make a lot of noise, and if you're going to take the lead, which your tone of voice is suggesting, I reach into my bag and hand him the antitoxin vial. Take care, my dear. Do not make yourself a hero.
Don't plan on it. Not today. I got too many shows to do next week. Alrighty. I'm gonna flip on the flashlight, seeing as I've already cranked it and kind of charged the battery up as much as I could. And I'm gonna just slide our way down.
Your footsteps can be heard echoing through the silence. You can hear sometimes that the sound of your footsteps seem to go quieter as you get closer to the bottom. You can watch the camera slowly creep up on the 4 investigators and hovers over Deacon's shoulder. You can see clearly from the camera's point of view the other 3 in front of him. You can smell Flora getting stronger as you get closer to the bottom. As you guys touch the bottom, an archway can be seen in front of you. Ancient Faireland across the archway. Both Flora and Effie can read Ancient Faireland. Deacon, you can, if you choose to do so, can roll a read roll.
I'm gonna leave it to the 2 experts.
Perfect.
Yeah, he's already off put by many things that have happened so far. He doesn't want to poke the proverbial bear.
I would, yes, like to use my ability of obscure lexicon in order to read this ancient and esoteric language.
Okay. Perfect. As you can see the flashlight, Felix, his beam goes across slowly, and it reads, in Ancient Faireland, translated.
Welcome to the Garden of the Gods. Eternal life is within reach. Unless you get trapped in a labyrinth, I imagine.
How wonderfully vague. I will say the Fairelands certainly had a way with words. But this appears to be far more than just Thumbsy's project. A self-contained ecosystem, like a glass bottle filled with mosses and ferns, but more dangerous, I presume. Keep on your guard, everyone. Heads on a swivel.
We watch as the camera slowly watches the 4 of you walk underneath this archway. On either side, the smooth wall that was presented there is no longer smooth. You can see that and hear sounds like slithering on the walls. You can hear a gargle every so often as you walk down this corridor. Deacon, the voice, once faint, is starting to get louder. You hear it calling out for you, saying, "Come find me." But one of the things that strikes you is that it talks about vengeance.
Again, that mention of vengeance. It's speaking to me again.
What's it saying?
It wants us to continue, but it again, it's mentioning vengeance.
Vengeance.
My thinking is the 2, well, technically 3, although one was merely a pawn. The brothers were both descendants of an old alchemist. And if they were around when this garden was around, there's a possibility there could be some connection between them. Something that perhaps this old alchemist Anastasia had done. I don't know what, but it's something to anger a garden, said to hold eternal life. And if that's the case, we need to take extra care.
As you guys are walking through the promenade, You start hearing the hissing sound grow louder. Felix, you're in the front. As you shine your light, you can see on the walls the slithering sound are vines going in between the cracks of the cobblestone and the rocks. You can see that when you shine it on other things, that other vegetation and plants grow on top of other vegetation. So it doesn't seem to need roots or soil. They grow right on top of one another. You do see that certain plants shy away from the light, but there is no need for sunlight down here. Yet vegetation seems to grow pretty healthily. The plants defy rules of natural growth, and the vines spiral in like a perfect uniform pattern. Some of the flora that would wither in darkness instead thrive down here. Certain plants emerge from others in ways that suggest an impossible biology. So, as you guys continue to walk through this, who's in the front again? Felix. As you're getting closer to the end, you notice all of this. Is there anything you'd like to do?
I think as we're walking, I slow my pace a little bit to get a chance to kind of get the group huddled up close as we're nearing the bottom, or we're nearing, the edge. And listen, I don't know a lot about plants, right? Like, this is not my area of expertise, but I do know that plants usually need sunlight. And homeboy over here is talking about revenge and vengeance. So do we think that there's a plant here that's trying to eradicate the bloodline of the people that wronged it? Is that what we're trying to surmise?
As you're saying this, from your left side, Felix, you will see two skeletons pop out.
Have you come to feed?
Oh, see, that's very interesting, because like I can't see where they have the voice box on this thing to make it talk like that. This is some wild stuff. This is some really cool. I'm not sure if these are like homegrown bones. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. You can plaster them, or you can it's actually cheaper to get real bodies technically, but like is this what you've been hearing? Is that the same voice, Deacon?
It sounds a little similar.
Flora wants to look a little closer at these bones.
Okay. Go ahead and you get the choice to roll a move roll or a read roll, whatever is better for you.
A move or a read?
Bold choice,
sorry.
Cotton. Let's see if it.
I was about to say.
Move or control.
Move or control. Okay. Because I was like, am I talking to this thing? I gotta convince the skeleton something? Okay.
Move or control.
I'll do a move roll.
Okay. Anyone want to help?
Oh, without a doubt. This is just like the old days in the archaeological digs, just far more unsettling.
Ah, yes. Indeed. Let's roll these.
I'm gonna give the help action, or whatever the equivalent of the help action is.
Yeah,
That
what does
is
a help action give me?
The way to
using a
do
drive.
that is you need to give a drive within the same set that she is using, but you have to make it narratively make sense. So how are you going to help?
100%. What are you going with, Floor?
I was gonna go with move.
Okay.
I guess in this case, to take a closer look at these bones. In her mind, I think it's like trying to figure out how long have these been here, kind of basic archaeology sorts of things. Are these old bones, new bones, bones crunched up by giant teeth, bones, from people?
Are the bones protruding from like the wall, by the way, or are they like in the
They're
vines?
on the wall.
Okay.
They're on the wall, trapped within this foliage.
Okay, so they're in the...
So what I'm gonna do to help to give a drive, because I have nothing in nerve, by the way. So everything I would roll with disadvantage. So I might as well use a drive. I'm gonna like a Jerry Springer cameraman. I'm gonna hold the flashlight box on my shoulder, and then I'm gonna grab you by the waistband so that I can pull you back if something happens, but also still keep the light on you.
All right, cool. What does that give me as far as
That's an extra
get an extra
D6 die.
extra D6?
And Effie, is there anything you said you wanted to do?
I myself wanted to engage in that read roll, if you don't mind me doing so.
It's a move or control roll.
Move or control, gotcha. Let me see what I have a better hand on. Well, I have in neither, so let me also spend a drive as I use control.
And how would you like to help?
The best way I could help is being a backseat archaeologist. I'm definitely offering little comments of, well, really, if we are looking at calcium deposits, you might as well take a look at the teeth as well. Look at the curvature of that deposit.
The curvature, and to see the weathering, which I can't imagine how much weathering there would be down here. But
Well, you also consider erosion as well. Don't you snap at me.
I didn't snap. I'm not snapping. Watch your hands, Felix.
All right, so go ahead and roll an extra D6 on top of that. So you have 2 D6 plus whatever you had in that skill set.
Okay, great. Oh my god. All right, these are all not great. So I rolled... my highest is a 3, but one of those high 3s, one of those good old 3s is on a gilded die on my move.
Well, you get a drive back, however you fail on this roll.
Yeah.
And when you see the skeleton speak, it seems to come at you and lunge towards you. Felix, you definitely have her gripped. However, it seems like the flashlight starts to flicker as you're holding her, and your attention is pulled away for just a second. And the skeletal remains open its mouth wide, and out comes a mist. For those who are within 5 feet of this thing, you all take 2 brain. And now, all of you have a sense of paranoia. You're all now paranoid.
So nothing new for Deacon.
What are you talking about? I'm not paranoid. Do you think
Now.
I'm paranoid? I've never been paranoid in my life. I've always operated with a clean and sound mind. Clean mind, clear mind, not clean, clear.
Clean and clear and under our control.
The toxin has been breathed in by Floor for 100%. For those who are nearby within 5 feet, which would also mean Felix, Effie, and Deacon, where were you standing?
As I said, I was backseat archaeologisting, so I definitely breathed that in too.
Okay. So all 4 of you are now affected by this toxin. As you're breathing in this toxin, you start to see the walls take shape of different form. Things start to not make sense around you. sense of always being watched. You're able to make a group roll here. And whoever wants to make this roll, you can. See if the toxin that was released into the air can be resisted. The countdown goes from 2.
What kind of roll is it?
It's up to you. You can do a focus roll. I think focus makes sense here. Focus.
I would like to roll for the group. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no. If you're doing focus, I was going to also make the potential argument for either move or strike. I know strike sounds weird, but like strike in the sense of we have Thumbsy's Bunsen burner. And if this is anything like it could alight and perhaps catch fire on the spores or the seed, the pollen, the allergy makers up in the air, if we could just kind of...
You could, however, you've already breathed it in, so I'm not sure how that would help.
No, that's fair.
All right, well, I am going to, the moment the just goes into our faces, I jump back, I'm going into my bag, and I'm going to reach for some of that antitoxin that was so generously given.
Sure. Go ahead and roll for me. There will be no help here, as you're the only one that would immediately turn to action.
Absolutely. Oh boy, okay. Highest was a 5, but that was on my gilded die, so I get a drive back.
Perfect. So you do succeed. You're able to act quickly. Look through your bag. You can hear the bottles clanking together. You can see all of the different things that are mislabeled by your friend Thumbsy. However, your hand grabs firmly onto the one label that makes the most sense. The antitoxin. You go ahead and pop the cork. Take a swig back.
No spoonful of sugar, lovelies. Get this in immediately. And I am just taking a sip. Floor opens her mouth, pouring it in. Felix, I'm already wrenching his open.
The toxin is only good for 2 people.
I have to. Don't make me chill. What do you mean?
Which one's your favorite, Mom?
You can't do.
There is a right answer.
There is a right answer.
I'm gonna look between Floor and Felix as I take a swig, and there's only half left. And I'm going to give it to Felix. He is too young. He has so many years left. And perhaps the activated charcoal in my bag might help here. But he deserves a chance. I am... Fingers in your mouth, pour... And no spoonful of sugar, just get in. Floor, there's activated charcoal in my bag. Eat it immediately.
Okay, I guess.
Cherry flavor. I hate cherry.
And it's charcoal flavor. Charcoal. Jeez, listen, man. Turn on your ears. And she's taking through the bag.
I would like to speak their language.
Sure. How are you doing that?
Well, I already lost my beard. What else? Couldn't get much worse, could it?
I'm gonna fly to your home and shave your head.
Oh, God. Deacon is going to take the ink that he's been using for his journal, and he's going to drink it.
Okay. Interesting choice.
Bold.
And when he speaks, his voice is deeper, almost matching that same timbre, but using the language of these things as opposed to forcing it to speak common.
Sure.
We mean to solve the dilemma that you have been locked in for centuries. Let us pass, that we may assist. Name them. All alchemists, or just one? All must perish. The sins of one should not punish all. Not all bear the same drive to disrespect your wonderful garden. Surely you must see that not every flower is exactly the same as its predecessor. Try to reason with me. You too shall perish. If you can communicate, then there is an opportunity to reason. I mean you no harm, but you mean many harm. And I wish to alleviate the anger that you feel. However that may come to pass, but not with further deaths. I beseech you and your ancient knowledge. So hungry. Feed me.
You can get a sense, Deacon, as you're speaking to this ancient being. It is able to speak. And language normally means a higher being, means consciousness, means understanding. However, with this being, doesn't seem there is reason behind its voice.
I want to try something, and I specifically want to try this before the other investigators can react. Deacon is going to take maybe like one of his cufflinks, or maybe the pin for his cravat, and he is going to pierce his palm enough to draw blood and see if he can sort of drip it onto maybe one of the skulls to see if maybe that will satisfy it to let us pass.
Interesting. Deacon. The camera starts to fade in your direction, as if you had an out-of-body experience. You watch yourself do this. As if you were watching yourself do this from the future. Like these events have already happened. You have an out-of-body experience, but nothing like this
Is my perspective still in the present, or am I sensing that another me is like watching?
That's up to you.
I think Deacon would, like, as he is, opening his palm, he'll look in the direction of where he can sense that presence. It's just the paranoia. It's just the mist. It's just... He'll shake it off and continue with the action.
Perfect. You'll see a response from the skeletons, but they kind of drop dead in its tracks. There's no real response afterwards. You'll notice that the bag that was hanging from one of the skeletons has fallen to the floor.
I have... Pardon me.
You do take a body for that, by the way.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Apologies, the ink sort of doesn't sit well in my throat. I was attempting to reason with the things, and they yearn for vengeance against the very alchemists that roam New Fair. It seems the theory was correct. I attempted to satiate their hunger, but I don't know that it necessarily worked. I think we just need to find a means of pressing forward.
For those who have been affected by the toxin, you are taking 2 brain.
Again?
Not again.
Okay, just the initial. Okay.
Just initial 2
Is it
brain.
that's the only? Because
Don't scare us like that.
yeah, I was a little worried.
Because we took 2 brains
2
at the beginning.
at the first round of it. Is the second?
No, this is 1.
Okay.
Hi.
What about for those that took the anti-venom? Do we still take the brain?
You do take the brain, yes.
And are we saying that I got to, because all of this was happening while I guess I was rummaging for charcoal and doing my best. Yeah.
You do.
Floor resurfaces with like blackened teeth, and it's just like swiping it through, and it's just complaining as it's there and kind of just sitting there looking gross.
The bag falls to the floor. You can hear the glass containers that were in the bag. You can notice that the skeletons are no longer moving. You're able to go in front of the skeletons if you choose to do so and search them. Or you can move forward. It's up to you.
You think... go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Are you close to the skeletons now?
I assume with the communication, I was like right up against them. I just figured I'd reach down and grab the bag as I,
Absolutely. Floor complaining, teeth and face full of charcoal. Doesn't like to look away from trying to investigate anything having to do with this. So if you grab the bag, are there any other identifying features on these skeletons? No clothing remnants, no sigils or anything?
No,
Okay,
you can
just the
definitely,
bag.
if you take a look, you can see these skeletons have been there for a while. The skin has been moved away, but there's remnants of muscle still on there. You can tell that there's still muscle attached to some of the skeletal bones, and it is decaying at a pretty rapid rate.
And was this cause of death looking of it like getting crunched or suffocated by these plants? It's just they were dead bodies. Okay, cool. Yeah. Once Deacon has the bag, she would get up, start trying to dust off her hands and wipe her face on her sleeve.
Deacon will look through the bag and just see what's in there.
What you do find inside the bag is some notes and a passage that reads, "Some of the most aggressive plants appear to shun bright light," alongside a sketch of a person covered their nose and mouth with their hands. and another sketch of a person shining a bright light into a mouth and nose.
Deacon again is going to slip back into that, like, verbalizing narration. Deacon looks to Effie and states, "Your methodology, it seems, was sound. They also adopted similar methods of removing these plants."
As the camera seems to now pull back as the four of you gather the things around the skeletal remains and move forward through this passage, Floor, you see the walls have human teeth attached to it.
As Floor is recovering from this, and she's recovering from the toxins, she's thinking back to the bodies that were there. Did I notice if those bodies had teeth? Like the skeletons?
They did, yes.
They did? Okay.
They look rather familiar.
In the way that they're laying, in the way that they were. Yeah. Floor has a moment where she is recovering, still kind of licking the charcoal off of her teeth, and then she has a moment where she almost stops in her tracks and just to herself almost first says, "The Rictus Rite," and then looks to Effie. The Rictus Rite, they're these bodies. They're...
My goodness, that means they've been here for a very long time, pre-war even. It was a Faireland, right? The spirit being connected to the body and whatnot. Usually the mouth was closed. This would means that they've undergone a great indignity.
And to see so many teeth.
This path of vengeance was forged long before we even set foot here. Deacon, my dear, let me see your hand.
He'll hold his hand out.
I'm just going to start binding it with a little bit of fleece from my pack. Your efforts were noble, but you must not. You both, and I look at Felix, Deacon, Floor, especially longingly, you all must not risk your lives here. This vengeance, whatever it is saying to you, it will not stop. It is a mouth that continues to gape, to hunger, to snap. Promise me, none of your blood will be spilled in the name of this entity.
I understand.
I don't plan on falling in this macabre, haunted garden. It's not even good animatronics.
What is animatronics?
Animatronics
Anemone.
anemone. It's this new thing that's coming out of...
So there's this thing
Animatronics.
5 nights ago.
Hey.
That's the song I should have sang.
Frederick.
Yeah, at Federico's Pizza Place, you know.
As the camera continues to watch and listen to what you just both started to talk about, you enter into this other location. You can see a fountain before you. Rather old fountain. Seems to be spouting out water. Some things on the side. Letters are written on this ancient Faireland fountain. What you can read is a bunch of names, and one of them clearly stating the name Petrov among the list. Carved next to that name on a stone tablet in front of the fountain. It reads, "A man drinks deep to heal his wounds. Only a fool will not boil the water. Only the wise are worthy." As you guys read this, you see 3 people come up from behind you. It's 1 lady and 2 gentlemen. One of the gentlemen is recognized by one of you. Felix. You notice this gentleman. It's Archie.
I shine the flashlight at the 3 of them, and I'm just like, Archie? Is that you?
You can see Archie's a little nervous, a little paranoid, you would say. And he looks up, pushes up his glasses. Hey. Felix? Is that you?
Idiot, what jeez, guy, you never get used to that. But what are you doing down here? That you're not an explorer, you're not a architect.
You know, I gotta get the scoop from the sentry down here. Ah, yeah. We got, Miss,
and you'll see Emmy extend her hand very graciously towards Floor and Effie.
Hi, my name is Emmy Tanaka. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, you were acquaintances with my good friend Thumbsy. Worried about you, even. Pleasure to meet you, young lady. How long have you been down here exactly?
I don't know. I don't have... what's those things? Those clocks? And
A pocket watch, yes.
pocket watch, yes.
What day was it when you left?
Well, last time I checked, it was Saturday.
GM, what's today?
Saturday.
Great.
It's been a
Time
couple
is a suit.
hours.
I see. Well, hopefully you've brought proper hydration and whatnot, but might I ask what you're all doing down here? What your venture is?
We're trying to find the center of this all. You know, we came here to study the gardens, but we're wise enough not to try and clip and take anything, you know? I don't know if you guys have noticed around here, but there's some weird flora that can definitely emit some toxins if you're not careful.
Yep. Yes, there are.
Oh, yes. Luckily, we have enough of the toxins here. And I came down here with, and she'll point to the guy next to her. His name is Mr. Blank. He introduced himself as Emmy's bodyguard. You will notice that Mr. Blank is very protective over Emmy. Doesn't hover over her in that aspect, but he's looking around very scope the place like. He's very cautious. Every so often, if you focus hard enough on him, you'll notice he'll stare a glance at Archie.
Can I roll a read on this guy?
On who?
I kind of want to do it on everybody as a group, but if I'm specifically, just because of Archie's reputation as a news hound and him being down here, I want to get a beat on him. Because I don't know if he's the type to I don't know if he's like a tabloid type of journalist where he's just making whatever claim, or if he's the type to try to make something happen, to make a story happen. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah. Go ahead and roll read for me.
I would like to do something after Felix gets the results.
Sure.
Check.
That's a 5.
Perfect. You do sense he's a little skimmish. You can definitely tell he's paranoid. He seems to be very jittery, very wide-eyed. All of you have the sense of paranoia. For the most part, one of you still does.
I would like to use my bleed detector.
What are you trying to do?
We came across a police officer who murdered somebody and was trying to hide the body and was
Allegedly.
who was lucid. I want to see if I can detect any bleed or maybe a seed on any of them.
I see where you're going with this. However, you're in underground where bleed is kind of everywhere. It's just a matter of the strength of bleed. So I see where your logic is. However, I will say that if you do bring out your bleed detector, it's just gonna go off.
It's gonna go like everywhere.
And it's gonna go everywhere. So you're kind of in the thick of it right now.
Okay. That makes sense. You know what? I'm gonna do something else.
Okay.
In my book, Deacon is hopeful that whatever presence that has been with him prior to this investigation is still here. And perhaps I can offer assistance. Deacon is going to move his hand down the page to an empty space and just write, "I need your help." And then he's going to drip a few drops of ink to see if it responds in kind or if something else happens.
Yeah. It's really cool. I really like that. I think what you see in response is in cursive, different from your handwriting. And what you see is, "Bring her to me."
He's going to close the book. You need to go. Emmy, you need to go.
She's gonna look at you. Just introduced herself. What are you talking about? I need to find one of my own. Max. He disappeared. He was a tall, bald man. I really fear the worst. That's the only reason why we haven't gotten back yet. Have you guys seen him?
Let us find him. But
Yeah, Deacon. Sure, that bag. Is that Max's bag?
I'll hold it out.
She'll look at it. Doesn't recognize the bag.
Orale, that's good. That's probably for the best. Listen, my homeboy Deacon here, he's not very persistent on too many things, but if he's being pretty adamant about this, I'm gonna have to double down and suggest that you probably should leave.
We can find your friend, but it wants you. And that will lead me to my next assumption. Miss Tanaka, are you an alchemist?
Am I an alchemist? What does that have to do with anything?
Answer the question, please, miss. It sounds frivolous and trivial, but it is of the utmost importance that we know.
I mean, I do come from a family of alchemists, yes.
You need to go. Please.
But go where? And she turns around. And for those who weren't paying attention,
You mean all of us?
the path behind you has shifted.
Stay close to Emmy. She's the next target.
Okay. I don't know what you're saying, young man, but you're scaring me.
He does that.
Felix is on the ground, like scooching the dirt away. He's like, this whole thing's got to be like on some sort of rotating set. That way they can keep like moving the walls around. This is honestly pretty genius. The fact that they got this kind of ingenuity down here, this is really cool. This is some next level. Like,
Were it not for the fact that I just saved you from a toxin-induced death, you would have been whacked once more.
I mean, listen, anybody can make a little fun powder, you know?
Flora has a moment while those two are having that interaction and is looking at Emmy pretty directly with, what was the nature of your studies down here?
Well, I really wanted to study the gardens. The gardens are...
Are you a botanist? Are you a student? What draws you here?
Well, for those who go to the college, I'm an alchemist. I'm a pretty well-known alchemist. I go to different colleges and universities here in New Fair, and I study all those that need study in herbology and biology. And the gardens have been untouched. I really wanted to come down here to study everything that's been unexplored.
Have you made any discoveries in your time down here?
And she turns around. Look around you. Everything is new.
That's if I may, that is an incorrect statement. Nothing here is new. Everything here is old. Very, very old. And it has anger in its heart. Anger at alchemists.
Well, I guess we should take our leave. I do want to look for Max, probably a different day, though.
Young lady, if I may, and I get up from where I've been scolding Felix. I am an esteemed professor at Greenbrier. I would be able to... Shame I haven't seen you in my lectures, young lady. I applaud your knowledge. I really do. Your curiosity, that is a spark I so rarely see in students nowadays. I urge you to keep that alive, but there are far safer ways to discover the ancient world than going about by yourself. I promise you will do our greatest to find your friend. Okay. But promise me that if you wish to delve into a ruin once more, you will come with someone like myself.
I promise. And Floor, as you listen to this conversation, you notice you're looking down the names of all the ancient Faireland finds. There's a bunch of names that are on the side of this fountain. You come across the last name, Tanaka.
Oh, that's not good. Emmy, how did you find out about this place in particular? As she is tapping Effie's shoulder and the same sort of thing, catching Deacon's eye and drawing the attention to the side of the fountain.
I just was wandering around and I heard some shuffling going about, and I came over here and I found the three of you.
No, not that. I mean, to come here to the Arboretum to find the Garden of the Gods.
Well, Thumbsy's a good fella, and he was talking to me one day about the Garden of the Gods and how there was a trap door that took you to the garden. I just followed in, and I saw how vast this place was. I didn't go deep in. I went back and gathered some people up because I really wanted to explore more. And that's where I got Max, and I got Mr. Blank and Archie, and they wanted to follow me into here, so I did, and now I'm exploring the ruins.
And as you guys are all talking, you guys are starting to move through this labyrinth. The countdown to get through this labyrinth starts at 5. You get to a fork in the road, and a decision needs to be made. Left or right?
Oh, I hate labyrinths.
Well, if we are to make a logical application, mazes can typically be followed to the right side, and the exit is usually on the right side. But this is no ordinary maze. Yes, my dear?
May I take a moment? And I want to look at the ground. I want to use potentially a move roll or something like that in order to see if there are either some sort of track or some sort of indication along the labyrinth for the path. Any sort of hint?
No hint.
No hint? None?
No hint.
0% hints? Okay.
0% hints. Just starting.
Okay. Well, if you insist, we could go to the right and maintain that. And she's going to see if there is any sort of that charcoal that was left on her fabric.
Sure.
And she's going to try and mark a plant or like kind of make a cross somewhere to be seen in case they come back across and they can retrace their steps.
Sure. The countdown is down to 4.
Okay.
Felix. No.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, Deacon, no. Go.
I was just gonna. It's fine. It was. This is a joke. Please don't count it towards the actions. Please.
I'm just kidding.
No. No, Deacon was gonna be like, oh, that's really smart to know which direction we went. And he takes out his journal and his pen and writes, right.
All right. You guys take the right-hand side.
Well, hold on.
What do you?
Felix.
Oh, Felix.
Because Felix is in the back, and you hear him. He's wearing glasses all of a sudden. You see him push him up. You silly people. Listen, everybody knows, okay? Little known fact about labyrinths, they're actually not impossible to escape. All you gotta do is you gotta take your left hand, put it on a wall, and keep following that wall. All right, make sure your hand never disconnects from the wall, and you'll find the exit every single time. Little trick of the trade. Don't tell anybody I told you that one, though. But I say we go left.
Could we not just keep our hand on the left-hand side of the wall while going to the right?
Counter goes down to 3.
Oh, God.
And you start to hear noise in the background. Very faint noise, but you can hear it. Slithering sounds come from the back as it walks silently through the maze.
Keep your hands off the wall. We don't know how.
I'm not going to actually touch the wall, but if you follow it, if you keep a wall to your left-hand side and follow that the entire time, you get to the exit.
Book smarts or street smarts?
Honestly, it's the age-old question of which one's going to get us out of it. Or there's a third option. Deacon, get on my shoulders.
Is there a ceiling?
Yeah.
There's an 8-foot tall labyrinth, so you could possibly.
I'm like 6'3". Deacon's got to be at minimum 2 feet. So
I'm only 1.5 feet tall. Sorry.
Damn.
Deacon will. He'll close the book and.
I do the grabby hands for like uppies. I'm like, come on.
I would like to assist in this. Just because
I am too old for this shit.
I am too, but here we are.
I'm going to hand the book, my journal, to Floor. Just say, can you please?
She takes it and she holds on to the book.
Second you take it, I'm already behind you, Felix, and my head's in between your legs.
You're behind yourself?
Oh, sorry. Behind you, Deacon. I apologize. I'm behind you, Deacon, and
Put that where-
head between your legs, and I just whoop. I just stand.
What you see?
gotta tell me. I'm gonna. You're like my little. What do they call that on the submarines? You're like my little periscope.
Periscope.
All right, tell me. Left, right. Where we going?
What you can see, Deacon, is that the field is ever changing. There is no constant path. However, what you do see is something make eye contact with you.
Fuck. Is it like on top of the labyrinth?
Nope. It is in the labyrinth.
It's just tall as fuck.
It's just very tall.
I would like to direct everyone so that we stay away from that thing.
Well, here's the funny thing about that. This thing makes direct eye contact with you. And as soon as he does that, looks like a path has been cleared for it to make its way towards your direction.
Get me down. Get me down. Get me down. Get me down.
I hit you with the one-winged angel.
You're down to 2.
No.
And you hear footsteps. Louder and louder and more slithering. It can be heard.
It's a living labyrinth. We need to move. We need to move now. Something's coming. We need to move. We need to go.
Go where?
Pick a direction. Let's go.
Right, go now. And I grab Floor and just
I start
yank her
running
to
with
the
you
right.
still on my shoulders.
Go ahead and make a move roll for me. And I want you to
smacks me in the face.
I want you to make a focus roll for me, Deacon, to try to stay on his shoulders without falling.
Am I doing a move roll?
Yes, you're doing a move roll,
I'm
Felix.
so sorry, Deacon.
Don't be.
I might have just killed us.
I'm using a drive.
Remember, you can only use a drive if the diamond is filled in.
No, you can
next to it.
use a drive even without the diamond being next to it. You can use it in any skill set, as long as you have it. As long as it's within that area.
The category.
The category.
I thought it had to have the little diamond filled in.
No, it can be in any category.
What's the diamond for?
Diamond 4 is your gilded action, which gives you a drive back.
Got it.
I can only use one drive, right?
You can use as many drives as you want.
I'm gonna use a second drive. This freaked me out. Okay.
So I have no points in move, so I had to roll at disadvantage.
Yes. Same thing with you,
I
Floor.
rolled snake eyes.
Wonderful. Beautiful.
God.
Yes.
I'm gonna use a resistance.
Okay. Wonderful.
Same.
Wonderful.
I'm gonna burn a drive in here too.
A 3? Okay. Great. Wonderful.
I have double 6s.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Can I
That is a
use
crit.
that to help Effie?
You can use that however you want to. It's your move and how you want to do it.
So I rolled a 1, and then I used a resistance to immediately roll another 1.
Wonderful. Great. So as you guys go down to 1, as far as the countdown is concerned, we are going to play this out. The hedge starts to open up. You start to hear the slithering sound. The thumping of the ground starts to shake. This thing with branches and that looks very tendril-like starts to move in your direction, hovering over these hedges. The fact that all of you are running in one direction. Effie, you're older. You can't keep up with everyone. You fall and trip over a branch that you don't see onto the ground. Deacon, you try to stay focused on Felix's shoulders. However, Felix, he's going too fast. He loses grip. You fall down to the ground, hit your head. And Felix, you lose grip of Deacon. And as soon as you lose grip, you tumble forward and hit yourself against a wall. Each person who failed this roll will take 1 body. However, it doesn't end there. the creature catches up to all of you. And it goes after the first person who fell. Effie, this creature is now hovering over you as it drops seeds onto your mouth. It is going to lift up its arms and slam down mere floor. Here's where your success lies in. With your quick thinking, you run over. You see Effie fall to the ground, but this thing was so quick. You move as fast as you can. Go ahead and roll a strike roll for me. You do reach there in time. However, the seeds do make it inside of Effie's mouth.
I'm going to add a drive to this as well. And I would also like to use my hand weapon, which I would love to use as a machete.
Sure. And what are you doing?
I'm going to attempt to strike this thing, just attempt to decapitate it.
Sure. Go ahead.
I have 1-6.
All right. You successfully swing your machete as you try to decapitate this thing. However, you're not successful in decapitating it, but you're able to move it off of Effie. The machete is stuck within the neck of this creature. You hang on. Deacon, you've hit your head pretty hard on the ground. You do watch in horror as Effie sees this creature over her. You see Flora run over to her, try to take it out, but you notice it just doesn't work. The one thing that rings in your head is something about shining a bright light.
When Felix fell, did the flashlight clatter to the ground?
Yes.
Deacon's gonna scramble over, grab the flashlight. Is it still on, or do I have to crank it?
You have to turn it on.
Fuck. Okay. He's gonna start cranking it. Is it a check you want me to make?
Nope.
Okay. Then he's gonna crank it as high as it will go, and then turn the light on and face it at the thing.
You'll hear a high-pitched screech go after the creature as it runs away. At that particular moment, Felix, where you're at, the labyrinth opens up and another creature is over Felix as it has him pinned against a wall. And on top of that, if you do not successfully control this, resist this, you'll be taken over, as Officer Jensen did.
Deacon is going to shine the light on that other one that's on Felix to try to ward it off.
You'll see it screech away as it runs off, almost like
Get
a
your lights
whimpering
out.
dog.
Any flashlights, any light you have. And I'm going to turn to Effie. Open your mouth.
Oh, nice.
He's going to aim the flashlight into her mouth and like down her throat if possible.
A scorching burn will go down your throat as the seed started to implant itself into the back of your throat. You do see it burn off as it dissipates. You cough up ash.
And I'll just turn to Felix.
There's a little part of where you see him just like ah.
Nope. Open.
I'm gonna lay on my back.
All right, he'll aim the flashlight down into your throat.
Same thing happens to you, Felix, as it started to implant itself into your body. As all of that was happening, you did hear voices in your head come from an ancient source. that ancient source fueled you with anger and hatred and vengeance. Luckily, the quick thinking of Deacon has saved you for now. As you guys move closer towards the center of the labyrinth, the floor seems to shake. And the labyrinth seems to open up.
Those lingering feelings of vengeance. I would even give Deacon a thank you for saving me. I am immediately in my bag, taking the last of my alchemical components, mixing copper sulfate and water to reduce a bright, shining, dare I say almost radioactive looking light. And I stand up, my false legs starting to crack a little from the fall. I am going to kill that fucking thing, even if I have to burn this goddamn garden to the ground.
That's an idea as well. And she starts to rummage through her bag, through her survival gear, and is going to try to get anything that could be able to set a fire as well, like a torch. Starts wrapping that.
You'll start noticing as you guys are walking towards and the labyrinth starts to open up. You find yourself now in a place where it seems like the only glimmer of light is shining through, as if it were daybreak. You feel a gentle breeze stir. You can smell wildflowers. You can see towering trees. You could see images or projections of what was once men and women in elegant robes walk by. Dyed fabrics stroll about, conversing and laughing softly, while others are sitting on a park bench. You can see some people on the ground eating and feasting on fresh fruits and sipping from their wine-filled cups. The air feels warmth, almost peaceful. But then, almost as soon as you see that, the scene feels eerily off. The same thing that happened before with your footsteps. They make no sound as you walk through this path. And from the ground you hear a low rumble as it echoes through this park. Almost heartbeat-like. It builds as it grows louder and louder, and the illusion starts to fray. The sky darkens, and the peaceful park goers suddenly halt and look up in horror as it bursts from the ground. This large, massive plant-like creature bursts through the ground. It looks very Venus flytrap-like. It looks like this. It's got petals opening its mouths, revealing countless fanged mouths that appear and disappear, each mouth contorted in silent fury. The ground around this virulence is tangled with roots that pulse with unnatural energy, twitching as if it were alive. From the sides of this thing are skeletal remains, and behind it you can see the walking wilts. The things that you fended off before. And almost in unison, you hear it speak to you once again.
Vengeance. Let the seeds of the wicked wither. Death to the lineage of alchemists.
Each voice drowning like in gurgling sounds, as though it was struggling to breathe. Echoes of souls trapped within this thing can be echoed through the halls. What is it that you guys want to do?
I am bruised. I am beaten. But I am fucking angry. Felix, you are going to feel a jar shoved into your hand and a blue glow. And I give you a look and will say, burn that thing to ash.
Oh. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna use one of my abilities.
Okay.
And let me know if I can use it in this way.
Sure.
It is the Prestige. I can do magic. It allows me to either summon a mundane object, teleport a short distance, throw my voice. Instead of me teleporting a short distance, can I teleport something a short distance? I'm gonna look at Effie. And I'm going to give her a quick hug. And I'm just gonna tell her, I'm really sorry that I couldn't keep my promise. And I'm gonna like take my shirt and lift it almost like a cape, and I'm gonna disappear. And I'm gonna be, I'm gonna use it as is. I'm gonna teleport myself with the phosphate above the plant.
Okay. We're above the plant.
And I'm gonna just free fall into its mouth with the phosphate.
Okay. Anyone else want to do anything?
I would like to help.
Yep.
Is it a free action to scream?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, so if in the
That was a 6 on my
instance,
gilded die, by the way, for
Perfect.
sense, because I have to roll for it.
Love it.
so it was going to be in the instance that we could potentially negotiate with Felix to be like, hey, let's think of like anything other than that, like maybe play a game of baseball, like something like that. You know, with it was a thought. Yeah, so Floor, having been ready to get there, she has a she's going to use the little Bunsen burner lighter, and she wants to light a I'm trying to decide. Actually for flavor instead of doing the torch, could she instead put the flaming material onto her machete?
Sure.
The fire starter onto her machete, and now has like a flaming sword essentially.
Sure.
And there are wilts that are around this thing, right? Mm-hmm. That are like looking at us. Yeah, I'm gonna try and do this. I want to try and slash at a wilt, and then hopefully if it catches fire, then we are producing more and more light is the idea.
Sure. Okay. And anything else?
Sorry.
Crying is a free action.
Yep.
But a lot of everything that I'll be doing is in like the defense of... You know what? Yeah, I'm actually going to try and stay as close to Effie as possible.
Sure. Okay.
Cool.
With the flashlight, I'm gonna aim it at the other wilt to make sure that it stays away as fucking Felix does this thing.
Sure.
Basically like sweeping the light to like create some distance.
Sure. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint a picture for all of you. You describe How do you all want to do this? Now, what I will say is, this is what happens before all of that. As you guys enter and this thing erupts from the ground, you can hear it gurgle, the sound of slithering. You can see the mouths on the leaves open and shut. One of the vines wrap around Emmy and lifts her off the ground. The other vine wraps around Deacon and lifts him off the ground. All of this is happening at the same time. Deacon, with no concern for your own well-being, you start to shine the light in the direction of the wilts, trying to keep them away from Felix. As you can hear Effie and Felix conversing behind you. Floor, you put the machete out and you pour the chemical that you find inside of your bag and you light it. It is now a flaming machete. You start to wave it in the direction of the other wilt. This thing starts to move both Deacon and Emmy towards its mouth. Deacon, as you look down towards this plant-like creature, you can see all of the fangs and teeth that it's made up of. You can feel the point of fangs on your calf as it digs further. This thing seems to have connected to you. It wants to feed. Felix, you grab this container full of luminescence given to you by Effie, and you go through your head, as you mentioned before. You shake your head as you normally do, and apologize for the first time, letting Effie that you know that you can't keep your promise this time. You watch as Deacon gets closer to this thing's mouth, and you teleport yourself above its head as it's opening its mouth. Is there anything you would like to say as you enter?
As I'm kind of in the midst of being encapsulated by this Venus flytrap-esque monster, I think I look out to everybody with a solemn smile, and I look and I tell you all, and don't forget, when you mention Felix Marquez, you make sure to tell them that I was magic, as I slowly slip down into the maw of this creature.
And I hand the scene over to you guys.
I'm okay. Oh my god. That thing better fucking explode or Effie has fallen to her knees. She's screaming.
Okay, I would like to make one final attempt to prevent Felix's death as he
You don't know if
falls
he
into this thing's
dies.
mouth.
You just know he's
Right.
going into the mouth.
He's going into the mouth. I would like to aim the flashlight right where he is landing, because I'm like right above its mouth, so I'll have a vantage point too. So basically, like, prevent any of the teeth from hopefully piercing his skin.
Sure.
To just add to whatever's happening and just say, "You chose this. Now burn."
Anything else?
Floor is standing right there by Effie. Just going to be continuing to look at this as it's happening, and Emmy is currently up and above this as well, right?
She is, well, Effie is below.
Effie, but Emmy
is above, correct, yes.
Is grabbed in a tentacle.
Yes.
So, are there wilts between me and these tentacles?
I thought you were fending one off, so there would be that one.
I was fending one off, yeah. So I'll be fighting that one. I'm fending one off from Effie, for sure.
Okay. Well, the tentacle, so, again, repaint the picture.
No. You don't have, okay. Tentacle, grabbing them. Wilts down here, me flaming sword.
Got it.
Okay. Cool. I want to fight the wilt.
Sure.
To keep Effie safe. Because I'm trusting those boys have this, but also, like, if I was going to pick someone, I was probably going to pick Effie.
All right, so.
Your heavy words.
So.
That was Effie at the end.
All I heard was, these guys could die, Effie, no.
I would literally have to fight between the wilts. I would like to have to make a strike against the wilt and also make a strike against the tentacle in a move.
Correct. Yes, so here's what will happen then. Deacon, as you're flailing up in the air with this thing moving about, it does feel the burning sensation from the light. It starts to scream out in agony and in pain. You are not able to focus this beam as you are moved from side to side. What you do see is your friend appear above this plant. You can hear the words ring out truer as he goes into the mouth of this beast, and the plant closes its mouth around Felix. From the outside, you can still see the wilts pin Floor to the ground. You can see that this plant opens its mouth up again as it brings now its true target closer to its mouth. Emmy. As it brings it closer and closer to its mouth, you can hear the woman scream in shock and in horror as this plant gets closer and closer to consuming its target. And for a moment, you hear the words of Felix. He's got one last trick up his sleeve. A light can be seen from the creature's mouth as it starts to burn away. Deacon, you are dropped immediately to the ground alongside Emmy. The wilts that you're fighting for start to disintegrate in front of you. Everything starts to go into dust. The person behind you, Archie, can be seen also starting to disintegrate. This thing finally reaches the ground, and you see dust particles in the air. From the faintest glimmer of light can be seen amongst those dust particles. Do any of you approach it?
I would immediately.
As you guys approach this light, you can see the vial that is left behind. You also see movement come from the center of it all. Out comes a hand. No sound is made.
I'll grab it and help clear away the dust.
Felix, as you were inside this plant, toxins started to form within its gut. You shook up the vial, as you've seen Effie do many, many times. As you take your last breath inside of this creature, you're a magician after all. Can you hold your breath? For how long? As the toxins surround you, go ahead and roll a focus roll for me one last time. What you're rolling for is to see if you have Constitution to hold your breath before you pass out.
A 5.
You watch as the camera zooms in as Felix takes one last breath and holds it as he shakes this vial. A bright light has been shown from the center of this creature. You successfully do hold your breath as the hand you reach out, not knowing who's going to grab it or what. And you see Deacon's face.
You're pulling me out.
Your story doesn't end here.
I never want to eat a salad in my life again.
Despite your best efforts, it seems your story continues.
I look up at Effie and Floor while I'm kind of on the floor, on my back, and I give a shy, defeated, tired, ta-da.
Effie just pulls you in for a hug and sobs into your shoulder and pulls Floor in with her too. Our stupid son made it, damn it.
While they're doing that, I reach for Deacon wherever he is. I can't see him, and I pull him into him like, hey, you're a part of this too. Come here. Come on. No, come on. Come on.
The camera watches as the four of this beautiful circle unite, and it starts to pull away. The last thing that you hear before the screen goes to black is a voice, Deacon. The story doesn't end here. And it fades to black. And that is the end of this one shot.
Fuck y'all, I've been crying the entire last half of this. I have really heavy makeup on.
This was really expensive.
You guys are being such good fucking role players.
This is, for those who don't know, is thanks to Beadle and Grimm and Darrington Press for writing The Style of Vengeance. It is found in the Horrors of New Fair, which will be released in March. For those who need to know, you can find it down below. Right there! Look at that! And see that you can also pre-order it yourself. I want to thank my amazing players and the amazing audience for listening in tonight for this one amazing exclusive one-shot. And I would like to hand over the microphone to the amazing performers themselves. And we'll start with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Latinos Against Spooky.
Finish it. Say my name.
Shit!
There we go. Hola, buenas tardes, everybody. My name is Jonathan Perez, otherwise known as Latinos Against Spooky Shit. I had the absolute pleasure of playing Felix Marquez. You can find me everywhere as Latinos Against Spooky Shit. You can also find me, as of the time of release of this episode, on my podcast, The Spooky Guys, available on all major platforms, where we will be talking about all spooky things, criminal cases, hauntings, all that kind of fun stuff. But thank you so much, Beadle and Grimm, Darrington Press, North Wolf 911, North. This has been awesome. I love this. I've DM'd Candela. I have not had a chance to play Candela, so this was a lot of fun to be on the opposite side. And what a freaking story. Absolutely love this. I'm going to pass it over to our mommy, our you know, the glue that keeps us all together, Abby.
Damn it, fuck you. You made me cry. Yate, I'm Abby. I'm your local Diné nerd. You can catch me in most places at Nub Abby, where I'm doing cultural consultation, I'm doing sensitivity reading, but more importantly, I'm telling amazing stories with folks like these, where I'm a little teary. Because goddamn, what a table. What a story. Thank you so much to our sponsors, and make sure to go check out what these amazing people are doing, especially on North's channel, because I've DM'd here before, an award-winning story featuring some dinosaurs, some tears, and speaking of, one of my amazing players, award-winning players, Mir.
Hi, hello there. My name is Mare. You can find me everywhere on the internet at Oh Hello Mare. You can also find me as a cast member on the Old Ways podcast. This was fun. This was my first time playing Candela, and this is not going to be my last time playing Candela. Thank you to Darrington Press for a cool game, and for Beadle and Grimm for a very spooky story. I tried every part of me not to just little shop my way through it. Theater nerd here, so so I'm a theater teacher during the day and a role player at night, so I want more, please. Thank you, North and Twisted Fates Productions. I want to keep doing things with you guys forever. It's so awesome. And then, without any further ado, our spooky little friend who sometimes kind of hears voices, maybe both, and, you know, this character does like that too, Cujo.
Hi, I played Deacon, the least favorite child of Effie in this story.
Still paranoid, by the way.
Still paranoid. Maybe she loves me, maybe she doesn't. Hi, I am Cujo. You can find me over at Crit Hit Chronicles, where we are doing Tales of the Valiant on Thursdays and Shadows over Baldur's Gate on Fridays. If you are into ttrpg content, come and hang out. It'll be a lot of fun. It's huge shout out to Beadle and Grimm's and Darrington Press. I've been dying to play Candela since this came out, and this was my first time playing, and it was wonderful. And North absolutely knocked it out of the park. Thank you so much for having me at this table. This was so much fun, and I would absolutely play this again in a heartbeat. So thank you for including me in this, and I'll head it back. I will hand it back over to our wonderful keeper.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for watching tonight. Thank you so much again to our amazing sponsors and to our artists who did all of the artwork in such a short time. Absolutely amazing. I truly appreciate it very, very much. My name is Norfolf911. I am the executive producer to Twisted Fates Productions, and this has been Candela Obscura, Style of Vengeance, also known as The Seed of Doubt. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I hope to all see you all again as we release another one of our actual plays in the future. Take care and have a good evening. Bye-bye.